Have you ever found yourself in that really common modern dilemma?
Oh, I think we all have at some point.
Yeah, you're applying for a dream job, maybe aiming for a new course, or even an exciting visa, and bam, suddenly there it is.
Proof of English proficiency required.
Exactly, and you often need it like yesterday. In this world, moving so fast, being able to quickly and, accurately show your English skills, it's not just nice to have anymore.
Oh, it's pretty much essential. And the traditional tests, well, they're robust, sure, but they can feel like these huge hurdles. Costly, time-consuming.
Oh, definitely. And just getting to a test center sometimes.
Right. The logistics alone can be overwhelming for people.
That's exactly the problem. And
Yeah.
that's why we're doing this deep dive today. We're looking into a really fascinating solution that one of our listeners actually shared a whole bunch of sources on, the British Council EnglishScore.
Ah, EnglishScore.
We've
Yeah.
got, seriously, a treasure trove of articles and research here. And our mission today, to unpack exactly what this test is, how it stacks up against the big ones like IELTS and TOEFL,
The established players. Yeah.
its pros and cons, obviously,
Yeah.
and crucially, how you can maximize your score
Mm.
if you decide it's the right path for your goals.
Think of this as your personal shortcut, basically, to getting really well informed. We've gone through all the material you provided, pulled out the most important bits, the practical insights.
So you don't have to wade through it all yourself.
Exactly. We're distilling it for you.
And here's where it gets, well, really interesting right off the bat. It's the surprising convenience, the accessibility of English Score. It just sets it apart immediately.
It really does. It offers a level of flexibility that might genuinely change how you think about language testing.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's kick things off. What exactly is British Council EnglishScore?
Okay, so at its core, it's a mobile-based English language proficiency test. Pretty straightforward. It was developed by the British Council, the global organization focused on cultural relations, education.
Right, everyone knows the British Council.
And they had a very clear goal here. Offer a quick, accurate, and importantly, internationally recognized way to check someone's English skills.
What's really fascinating, though, is its nature, how it works. Unlike those traditional exams where you have to book a slot, travel.
Right. Go to a specific center, stick to their schedule. EnglishScore is totally different. It's fundamentally an app-based test.
On your phone. Seriously.
Look up right there on your smartphone.
Yeah.
Android, iOS, doesn't matter. And the key thing is, anytime, anywhere that works for you.
Wow. That anytime, anywhere thing, that's massive for learners today, isn't it?
Oh, it's a total game changer. It just dismantles so many of those old geographical barriers, the time constraints, things that made testing such a hassle for people all over the world.
Absolutely. It really is like having a test center just in your pocket. But okay, with that convenience, there must be checks, right? For
Yeah.
fairness.
Of course, there's a practical requirement. You do need a working camera and microphone on your phone.
Makes sense. For test integrity. So tell us, what specific skills does this app test actually assess?
Okay, so the core EnglishScore test, it's designed to measure your skill in 4 key areas: grammar, vocabulary, reading, and listening. The foundations.
Okay, the core 4.
But what's interesting, and it kind of points to their structured approach, is that there are also optional writing and speaking tests.
Optional.
Yeah, but you only get access to them, they only unlock after you've scored A2 or higher on that core test.
Ah, I see, like a tiered system.
Exactly. It suggests they want to make sure you have a solid base in English before they assess those more complex productive skills like writing and speaking, which, kind of makes sense. You need a certain level to even attempt those meaningfully.
That does sound like smart design. Build the foundation first.
So how does the tech behind it work? How does it get results so incredibly fast?
It's quite innovative, actually. It uses adaptive technology and AI, artificial intelligence.
Adaptive meaning.
Meaning it doesn't just give everyone the same set of questions. It dynamically adjusts to your level as you go through the test.
So if I get one right, the next one will likely be a bit harder. Yeah. It pushes your boundaries to really pinpoint your level. If you get one wrong, it might ease up slightly to find where you're comfortable.
Okay.
And it's this adaptive nature that makes the whole thing so efficient. It allows them to get fast, accurate results, usually within about 40 minutes for that core assessment.
40 minutes. Seriously.
Yes.
That's almost unbelievable. I remember tests where you waited weeks.
It's a huge, huge difference. Getting results in less than an hour, It's a real paradigm shift in testing.
It really is a massive differentiator. And are these just scores, or do they mean something
Well,
international?
they absolutely mean something. They're not just random numbers. The scores you get are directly correlated with the CEFR standards, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages.
Okay, the CEFR.
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
Right, and those standards range from A2, which is like a basic user, all the way up to C1, which signifies a proficient user.
So why is that CEFR alignment so important for someone taking the test or maybe an employer looking at the results?
It's absolutely crucial because the CEFR provides this universal benchmark for language ability. It's a common language for language skills.
Universal benchmark. Okay.
So if an employer in, say, Germany or a university in Brazil sees you have a B2 or C1 on your English score certificate, they instantly know, based on a globally understood standard, what your language ability is like.
Right, regardless of where you took the test or where they are.
Exactly. It cuts across different national education systems, different test formats. It just provides clarity and boosts the credibility of your score significantly.
That makes total sense. A universal language for language ability.
Mhm.
I like that. And how widely is this thing recognized? Can I just stick it on my LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, definitely. Its recognition is growing. A wide range of institutions and companies worldwide are starting to accept it as verifiable proof of English proficiency. And yes, you absolutely should add it to professional profiles like LinkedIn. It's designed for that.
Okay, good.
And another really practical, important feature, authenticity checks. Any institution or company that gets your certificate can go straight to the English Score website, pop in a unique verification ID from your certificate,
And check it's real.
and check it's real and belongs to you. It directly tackles those potential security worries and really bolsters the credibility of the whole thing.
That's smart.
Oh,
A good security feature. Now, let's talk money. Cost. Because let's be honest, that's a massive factor for a lot of people. Is it really true the basic test is often free?
that's a great point, and yes, it often is. Just taking the basic test to see your score, understand your CEFR level, frequently free.
Wow.
However, if you want that official recognized certificate, the one you can actually share with employers or universities, that does have a fee.
Okay, makes sense. Any idea the cost?
Well, the sources we looked at mentioned Indonesia as an example. There, the official certificate offers range from about RP 275,000 up to maybe RP 399,000.
Which, compared to other big tests.
Exactly. That price point is significantly different. It makes getting a recognized credential way more affordable, much more accessible financially.
Okay. And validity. Does the certificate have an expiry date? Like IELTS or TOEFL often do?
Yes, it seems so. Some sources suggest the certificate is typically valid for up to 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
And that's pretty standard for language tests. Language skills aren't static, right? They can go up or down depending on practice. So a validity period ensures the score reflects a reasonably current ability.
Right. Keeps it relevant.
Okay.
So let's quickly recap the key benefits here. It sounds like EnglishScore is great for, well, proving your English level quickly to employers or maybe some institutions.
Yes, definitely for that.
Also, maybe as a practice tool if you're aiming for those bigger tests like IELTS or TOEFL later on.
It can be a really valuable prep tool, yeah. Gives you a benchmark.
And it even gives personalized course recommendations from the British Council for improvement.
That's right, based on your results. It connects assessment directly to learning. These benefits really hit home for what many people listening might be trying to do: career moves, further study, or just, getting better at English for themselves.
Yeah, it seems to offer a really flexible, affordable, and relevant option for a lot of different goals in today's world.
Precisely. That's the niche it's aiming to fill.
Okay, so we've got a really good handle on what British Council EnglishScore is. Now let's shift gears and put it in the ring, so to speak. How does it really stack up against the heavyweights? We're talking IELTS and TOEFL.
Right, the titans of the language testing world.
This comparison is absolutely vital because it shows where EnglishScore carves out its own space. It's powerful, yes, but it's operating in a field dominated by these giants for decades.
And understanding these differences is key for you, the listener. It helps you decide which test is genuinely the right one for your specific situation. They really do serve different primary purposes and have very different levels of global recognition.
Okay, let's start right there. Primary purpose and recognition. IELTS and TOEFL. They're still seen as the gold standard, right? Especially for high-stakes stuff.
That's a very good way to put it, yeah. Gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
They're globally recognized, widely accepted, especially for academic purposes, think studying abroad at university, and also for immigration to English-speaking countries.
So universities, immigration departments, they usually demand these?
The vast majority, yes. They require specific scores from IELTS or TOEFL. IELTS is maybe a bit more common for the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. TOEFL often preferred for the US, but honestly, both are pretty widely accepted almost everywhere now.
Okay. And British Council EnglishScore,
Mm.
where does it fit in terms of purpose and recognition?
EnglishScore is fundamentally built for speed, accessibility, and as we said, affordability, its main uses. Quick assessment, getting that fast snapshot of your level. Career development, proving skills to employers, getting ahead professionally. And it's also a great prep tool for those bigger exams.
But the key difference for recognition.
The critical distinction, and this is something listeners planning to study abroad or immigrate really need to grasp, is that while EnglishScore is recognized by a growing number of companies and institutions,
Right.
its acceptance is just not yet as universal as IELTS and TOEFL, specifically for those high-level university admissions or complex immigration requirements.
So it's excellent for many things, but maybe not a direct swap for those specific high-stakes needs.
Exactly. It's not necessarily intended to be. It serves a different, though sometimes overlapping purpose. You need the right tool for the specific job you're trying to do.
That really clarifies the landscape.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk format and duration. This is where you really feel the difference day to day.
Oh, definitely. Take IELTS. It's a pretty substantial test, about 2 hours and 45 minutes long.
Wow, nearly 3 hours.
Yeah. And it's broken into 4 clear sections: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Now, a key feature of IELTS is that speaking section. It's a face-to-face interview with a real, live human examiner.
Ah, like a proper conversation.
Exactly. It allows for a more natural, maybe more nuanced assessment of your speaking skills. Plus, IELTS has 2 versions or modules: academic for study and general training, more for work or immigration.
Okay. And TOEFL, specifically the IBT, the internet version.
TOEFL IBT is similar in length, usually around 3 hours, maybe a bit less now with recent changes, including breaks. It also hits those 4 skills: reading, listening, speaking, writing. But here's a big difference from IELTS.
The speaking part.
Yes, the speaking section on TOEFL involves you recording your answers into a microphone. There's no direct chat with a human examiner during the test itself. And the whole thing, as the name implies, is entirely computer-based.
Right, which brings us back to EnglishScore's format.
So for the core test, grammar, vocab, reading, listening, you're looking at that remarkably short time, around 40 minutes.
Just 40 minutes for the core skills.
Yeah. And remember, the optional writing and speaking tests are separate, only available after you hit that A2 plus level. The entire thing is done on the mobile app.
So speaking and writing are also on the app. How does that work?
Typically, yeah. Voice recording for speaking, typing for writing, all within the app interface. And the crucial point here: no direct human examiner involved in any part of the EnglishScore assessment.
So super convenient, flexible, but maybe less nuance in the assessment, especially for speaking.
That's the potential trade-off, yes. Convenience versus that human interaction element you get in, say, the IELTS speaking test. It's something for test takers to consider based on what they value or need.
Absolutely. Now, cost. We touched on this, but comparing it directly,
Yeah.
it's a really stark difference.
It really is night and day. IELTS and TOEFL, they're expensive, often over $200 US. That translates to, well, a lot of money in many currencies, like around 3 million Indonesian rupiah, for instance.
For one test attempt.
For one attempt, yeah. British Council EnglishScore, as we said, often free for the basic test score, and even the official certificate, significantly cheaper. We saw that Indonesian example of maybe IDR 275,000 to 399,000.
That's a massive saving. It just opens up certification to so many more people.
Huge cost saving, exactly. It makes it accessible in a way the others often aren't, just purely based on price.
Okay, location and flexibility. IELTS TOEFL usually means finding a test center, booking a specific date.
Precisely. You generally have to go to an official test center on their schedule. It can be a real hassle, depending on where you live. TOEFL does have a home edition now.
Oh, right.
But even that comes with really strict rules about your computer, your room setup, online proctoring. It's not quite as simple as just logging on.
An EnglishScore.
EnglishScore is the absolute opposite. Total flexibility. Take it pretty much anytime you want, anywhere you have your smartphone and decent internet. It's genuinely like having that test center right there in your pocket.
It's hard to overstate how convenient that is.
Okay.
Okay, a final comparison point. Depth of assessment. Is EnglishScore testing things as deeply as IELTS or TOEFL?
That's a really important question. IELTS and TOEFL are specifically designed to assess English skills very deeply, very comprehensively. Their tasks often require high-level analysis, critical thinking, structured arguments, things you really need for demanding academic or professional settings.
Right, like writing complex essays or understanding academic lectures.
Exactly. British Council EnglishScore, while it's accurate for giving you that CFAR level and assessing core proficiency, it's maybe more focused on general language ability. Think of it as a reliable snapshot of where you are right now.
Okay.
It might not dig into the same analytical depth or demand the same level of complex language production, like intricate essay writing or debating nuanced points that IELTS and TOEFL are built to measure.
And that difference in scope explains why the acceptance levels vary, especially for universities or immigration.
Precisely. It's not that English score is less accurate for what it measures, but it's measuring a slightly different, perhaps more focused range of proficiency compared to the extremely broad and deep scope of the other two. Understanding that difference is key.
Absolutely. It really comes down to knowing your goal and picking the test designed for that specific purpose. Okay, so like any tool, right, no matter how shiny and new, it's got its upsides and its downsides. British Council EnglishScore is no different.
Definitely not. And weighing those pros and cons is essential for you, the listener, to decide if it's genuinely the right fit for what you need.
Let's start with the good stuff, the advantages. And the biggest one, we keep coming back to it, is that incredible accessibility and convenience.
It's arguably its strongest selling point. Anytime, anywhere, smartphone, internet, that's it.
It just removes so much friction. No travel to test centers.
Which can be a massive hurdle, logistically and financially, especially if you're not near a major city.
No rigid schedules.
Yeah,
You take it when you feel ready.
exactly. It puts the control back in the hands of the test taker. That's huge.
Then there's the speed of results.
Mm.
Getting that core score in, what, 40 minutes?
It's practically instant feedback. Compare that to waiting days, sometimes weeks, for traditional test results.
Yeah, if you're on a tight deadline for a job or a course application.
That rapid turnaround is incredibly valuable. It can make a real difference.
And the affordability. We can't
right.
stress that enough.
Absolutely. The core test often being free, and the certificate being so much cheaper than IELTS or TOEFL. It just makes recognized English certification achievable for many more people. It really democratizes access.
Plus, that CE-FO alignment, having your score mapped directly to that international standard.
Yeah, that's powerful. It means your B2 or C1 score is understood globally, whether you show it in Europe, Asia, South America. It adds real weight and clarity.
It also seems to have growing career-oriented recognition. Maybe not top universities yet, but employers are starting to take notice.
That's definitely a key area of growth for English score. For recruitment, for internal training, for job placements, more and more companies are accepting it.
Do you think that recognition will continue to expand?
It seems likely, especially as more organizations see how efficient and reliable it can be for assessing general workplace English skills. Time will tell, but the trend seems positive in that direction.
And users often say the app interface is pretty user-friendly.
Yeah, anecdotal feedback suggests the app is generally easy to navigate, and that's important. A smooth experience reduces test anxiety, lets you focus on your English, not battling the tech.
And finally, it's a great self-improvement tool.
This is a really neat aspect. You can use it to benchmark your progress over time. And getting those personalized course recommendations from the British Council based on your specific results, that's a fantastic way to connect the test directly to targeted learning.
Okay, now for the flip side, the disadvantages. And the big one, the elephant in the room, is that limited academic and immigration acceptance.
This is, without question, the most significant drawback you need to be aware of. If your main goal is getting into a university in the US, UK, Canada, Australia, or immigrating to those countries,
Then you probably still need IELTS or TOEFL.
almost certainly yes. In the vast majority of cases for those specific high-stakes goals, English score just isn't universally accepted yet. That's the critical takeaway for anyone in that situation.
Then there's the complete technology dependence.
Right. Your whole test hangs on your phone working perfectly and your internet connection being stable.
Which isn't always guaranteed.
Exactly. Glitches, app crashes, internet drops, they can disrupt your test, which is frustrating and potentially costly if you paid for the certificate. It's a risk you don't really have with traditional methods.
And maybe some perceived security concerns, even with their checks.
Potentially, yes. While the British Council uses AI, facial recognition, and other proctoring methods, some institutions, especially for very high-stakes decisions, might still perceive an at-home mobile test as inherently less secure than a physically proctored in-person exam.
Perception matters, even if the tech is good.
Perception can definitely influence acceptance levels, yeah.
Another point, the lack of human interaction. especially in the core tests.
Right. Grammar, vocab, reading, listening, it's all automated. And even the optional speaking is just recording yourself on the app, not talking to a person.
Which might not suit everyone's style.
Exactly. Some people perform better or simply prefer demonstrating their skills in a more natural conversational way. This lack of direct interaction could be seen as a downside for them.
And tied to that, maybe limited depth for those really high-stakes needs.
Yeah. The shorter format, while efficient, might not be designed to test the absolute full spectrum of complex academic or professional skills, like writing a really nuanced argumentative essay under pressure in the same way IELTS or TOEFL do.
That difference in depth again explains the acceptance gap.
Precisely. They're testing slightly different things, or at least to different depths.
And finally, just finding the right test environment at home can be tricky.
It really can. That requirement for a perfectly quiet, well-lit room where you're totally alone, that might be a real challenge depending on your living situation, family, roommates. It's a practical hurdle.
So, pulling it all together, what's the overall conclusion for our listeners?
Okay, the bottom line seems to be British Council EnglishScore is an excellent tool for getting a quick, convenient, and affordable assessment of your English. It's particularly great for personal tracking, professional development, and certain career opportunities. But for those really serious academic goals or for immigration to major English-speaking countries, especially in competitive fields, the traditional giants, IELTS, and TOEFL are still generally the preferred and often the required choice.
Know your goal, choose the right test.
That's the mantra. Know exactly what you need the score for and pick the test that best serves that specific objective.
Okay, fantastic. We've really dug into what EnglishScore is, how it compares, the good and the bad. Now let's get super practical. Let's talk about how you, our listener, can actually nail this test and get a high score.
Right, shifting to strategy, because knowing how to approach this specific test is crucial.
The sources we looked at had some great advice, covering general principles, and then diving into tactics for each skill. First off, you absolutely have to understand the test format and that adaptive nature. It's not like a regular linear test.
Fundamental point. The core skills test, grammar, vocab, reading, listening, it adapts to you. Remember, get questions right, it gets harder. Get them wrong, it might ease off a bit.
So your goal isn't just to answer questions, it's to answer the harder ones correctly.
Exactly. You want to consistently answer those higher-level questions right. That's what pushes your score up into those B2, C1 bands. The test is trying to find your ceiling. You want to keep raising it.
And just to remind everyone, the optional writing and speaking tests are separate, unlocked after A2+ on the core. Okay, what kind of questions should people broadly expect?
Across the core skills, well, for grammar and vocab, expect lots of multiple choice, gap fills, testing things like prepositions or verb forms, maybe sentence completion. Reading will have different texts, again, multiple choice, maybe reordering sentences, matching headings. Listening typically involves hearing clips twice, then answering questions multiple choice, sometimes listen and type.
Knowing those types helps reduce the surprise factor, right? Less anxiety.
Definitely. Familiarity breeds confidence.
Okay, moving to pre-test prep and setting up your environment. This feels extra important for an app test.
It really is. First step, get familiar with the app itself, way before test day. Download EnglishScore early. Play around with the interface. Do any practice questions they offer. Understand how the timers work. Just get comfortable with it.
Reduces the chance of a technical fumble on the day.
Precisely. Second, read the official test guides from the British Council.
Don't skip this.
Absolutely not. They provide detailed guides for all the test sections. Read them carefully. They explain the rules, the exact question types, the scoring. It's your blueprint for effective prep.
And then, of course, the classic advice. Practice regularly. This is about improving your overall English, not just test tricks.
Exactly. For grammar and vocab, review those core rules. Tenses, conditionals, modals. Expand your vocabulary actively. Read lots. Listen lots. Maybe use flashcards. For reading, tackle different kinds of texts. Practice finding main ideas. For listening, expose yourself to real English podcasts, news, different accents. For writing, practice typing speed and structuring answers. For speaking, actually speak out loud, focus on pronunciation, maybe record yourself.
Standard language learning stuff, but crucial. Now, that optimal test environment for a mobile test. Let's nail this down.
Paramount. Number 1, find a truly quiet place. No distractions. You need to be alone. Background noise kills listening comprehension and can mess up speaking recordings.
Okay, quiet and alone. What else?
Good lighting. The camera needs to see your face clearly for the security checks. And, non-negotiable, a stable internet connection. The whole test depends on it.
Right. Device charged.
Fully charged device, or even better, plugged in. You do not want it dying mid-test. And finally, think about your comfort. Have water nearby, use the restroom beforehand, because once you start,
You can't pause or leave the app.
exactly, treat it like a formal exam, even though you're at home. Give it that level of focus and preparation.
That's a great way to think about it. Okay, during the test itself, general strategies.
First, stay focused and manage your time. That 40-minute core test goes fast. Pay attention to question timers. Concentration is absolutely key.
And this is critical for the adaptive part.
Yes. Answer every single question. You cannot skip in the core skills test. Even if you're totally guessing, submit something.
Why is that so important?
Because not answering might prevent the adaptive system from giving you harder questions. And you need those harder questions to prove you're at a higher level, like B2 or C1. An educated guess is always better than a blank.
Got it. Answer everything. And check answers before submitting.
Yes, where possible. You generally can't go back. So for multiple choice, take that quick second to confirm your choice before hitting next.
Okay, let's get even more specific. Mastering individual skills. Let's start with excelling in the listening test. This often trips people up.
It can be tricky, yeah. So strategy is key. First, really understand the format. You usually hear each audio clip twice.
Twice. That's a big help.
Huge advantage. Gives you that second chance. Question types. Multiple choice. Listen and type it. Watch your spelling there. Maybe matching tasks. Remember, it's adaptive. Get answers right. Expect faster speech, trickier vocab, longer clips, and crucially, no pausing, no rewinding. You have to listen actively from the start.
So how do we best prepare for that double play adaptive format?
Pre-test prep needs consistent, active listening. Don't just have English radio on in the background. Engage with it. Use diverse sources, podcasts, news like BBC World Service, interviews, YouTube channels, even movies or TV shows without subtitles sometimes. Get used to different accents, British, American, Australian, etc.
And focus on specific listening skills.
Absolutely. Practice identifying the main point, catching specific details, names, numbers, dates, inferring meaning, figuring out the speaker's opinion or purpose. And work on distinguishing similar sounds. Vocabulary is vital too. If you don't know the words, you can't understand the meaning. Use flashcards, note new words in context.
Okay, solid prep. Now, during the listening test, what's the #1 strategy?
Without a doubt, read the question first, before the audio plays. Use that time to scan the question and the options. Identify keywords. Predict what kind of information you need to listen for.
So you know what you're listening for.
Exactly. Then, on the first listen, focus on getting the overall gist. Try to catch initial answers. Don't panic if you miss things. You get another shot. Listen for those keywords.
And the second listen.
Use the second listen to confirm your first answer or fill in missing details. Verify facts. Be super careful about distractors.
The tricky options.
Yeah, the audio might mention something related to a wrong answer to try and trick you. The correct answer directly addresses the question. Think about similar sounding words to dairy versus diary. Tiny difference, big impact.
Good point. What else?
Don't overthink or panic if you miss one word. Focus on the rest. And again, answer every question. Vital for the adaptive scoring. Make an educated guess if you have to. And manage your time once the 2 plays are done. Choose and move on.
Brilliant breakdown for listening. Okay, let's tackle conquering grammar and vocabulary. Often the foundation for everything else.
Absolutely. This tests your precision. Again, understand the format. Highly adaptive. Getting answers right quickly ramps up the difficulty essential for hitting BDC1. You'll see gap fills, testing prepositions, verb forms, conjunctions, multiple choice, grammar structures, vocab choice, maybe sentence completion, synonyms, antonyms, collocations, and you need to be efficient. Don't get bogged down.
So pre-test preparation for this needs to be pretty systematic.
Definitely. A systematic grammar review is key, targeting B2C1 level stuff. That means really understanding tense usage nuances, all the conditionals, modal verbs, tricky prepositions, articles, relative clauses, passive voice, reported speech, the works.
It's more than just basic rules.
Much more. And for vocabulary expansion, go deep. Read